Hi everybody, I am Thatnursingprof and welcome to my channel. In today's video, we're going to be discussing postpartum depression. If you've clicked on this video because you think you might be experiencing postpartum depression, I have put some resources in the description box, and I want you to know that this is okay. You're not alone. You've done nothing wrong. It's okay. Do not feel guilty about this. So let's learn a bit more about it. Starting with the causes. So there are a couple of things, lots of contributing factors. I don't really like the word cause because it's like this makes this happen. No, not really. These are just contributing factors, okay? So the big one is the hormone change that happens postpartum. When you're pregnant, right, you're very hormonal. You have extra hormones because your placenta is an endocrine organ, so it produces hormones. And then of course what happens, baby comes out, placenta comes out. So there is an automatic, real quick with the hormones, huge drop right away. And it takes our bodies a little bit to adjust to that. So there is a hormonal drop that contributes. Also, being sleep deprived, right? Because maybe you've been in labor for a couple days, now you've got to take care of a newborn and they're not on a good sleep schedule. So you're going to be really, really tired. And just kind of that new mom anxiety. Am I doing everything right? I don't want to hurt the baby. The baby's so fragile. What if I do something wrong? That feeling of inadequacy that most moms will have after delivery. All of this stuff are contributing factors. Actual risk factors, let's talk about those. So if you have already been diagnosed with depression or bipolar disorder, you are at higher risk for having postpartum depression. If you had postpartum depression with a previous pregnancy or a close family member had postpartum depression, you are also at higher risk. Other risks include either yourself or the baby has some sort of health problem, right? So you've had some sort of emergency, maybe you had a hemorrhage, it was really scary, that can contribute to it. Or if something's going on with baby, they have an anomaly, maybe they had to spend some time in the NICU, anything like that is considered a risk factor. That puts you at higher risk. Multiples, so twins, triplets, quads, more than one baby automatically puts you at higher risk. Little or no support at all. So it's nice, right? We think of moms and they have dad and you have all the family members. That's not always the case. Not everybody gives birth like that. So if you don't have a good support system or any support system at all, you are at higher risk. And then other troubles can contribute too. So maybe you've had financial difficulties, maybe you've just got laid off, you lost your job, maybe you're a victim of intimate partner violence. All of these other things, kind of outside of the medical world, can be risk factors to getting postpartum depression. So now that we know some potential risk factors, let's talk about some signs and symptoms. Now let's talk about some signs and symptoms the patient might experience. These can include mood swings, excessive crying, withdrawing from friends and family, overwhelming fatigue, so more than just normal like new mom tired, this is overwhelming to them. And also something I want to point out from the nurse's point of view. If somebody tells you that they're struggling with depression or that they think they have postpartum depression, it is not appropriate for you to say, oh, that's normal, you're just a new mom, everybody's tired, everybody goes through that. Don't dismiss that. Take that very seriously, okay? So overwhelming fatigue, irritability, anger, anxiety, or panic attacks. An increase or a decrease in appetite, so they don't feel like eating anything, or they're overeating, eating more than they should. No longer interested in things they used to enjoy. The things they used to like pre-baby, they just don't like it anymore. A decreased ability to concentrate or focus on things. They feel cloudy, like it's not clear. Feeling worthlessness, guilt, shame, those emotions. And all of these are very important, but I would say the big one, the most important one, thoughts of harming yourself or the baby. So if your patient tells you that they've been thinking of harming themselves or thinking of harming their baby, that's the biggest red flag. We want to monitor for all of these things, of course, but this one's the scariest one. Once they start having obsessive thoughts, suicidal thoughts, or things like that, when it comes to this, we need to report that right away to help them, right? We're not going to take your baby away to punish you. It's not about that. It's about keeping everybody safe, mom and baby. So now that we know signs and symptoms, let's talk about the diagnosis. How is this diagnosis made? Now let's talk about how this is diagnosed and the possible treatments. So there's a couple of ways this is diagnosed, mostly based off signs and symptoms. Now the issue with this is all of those signs and symptoms sound like just regular depression, right? So how do you know it's postpartum versus just regular depression disorder? The timing of it, okay? So this can happen anytime in the first year of the child's life, so the first 12 months after delivery. So you, as the OB nurse, you're probably not going to catch this right away when baby is 24 hours old and then you send them home, right? You might, that would be great, but not likely. The person who's going to catch this is going to be like the clinic nurse, the peds nurse when they come in and take their baby in for the well baby checks, the family health practitioner, all of those people. So we need to be screening all of our patients if they've just given birth anytime in the past year for the potential of this. There's a couple of different screenings that they use, little like what I call them surveys to make them seem less intimidating. They're just like mini questionnaires. It's just a couple of questions. So this one, I pronounce it the Edinburgh. I don't know if that's pronounced correctly in other countries. They might pronounce it differently. But this is the most popular one. This is a postnatal depression screening, and really all it is 10 questions asking the mom how they feel. How do you feel right now? How have you felt in the past week? And there's simple questions like, do you enjoy things you used to? No, not so much, no, or yes, everything's fine. And then the big one, do you have thoughts of harming yourself? And you want them to say no. So that's the most commonly one used. We give this in the hospital after they deliver. Some doctor's offices will give it prior to that during like prenatal checkups. Some of them will give it after when you go to do your like 6-week follow-up visit, things like that. Even pediatricians' offices might use this. So it's a common screening tool. The big symptoms they're looking for, a depressed mood or little interest in the things you used to enjoy. And before they can officially make this diagnosis, they got to do one more thing, and that is rule out other causes, so other physical causes. So a lot of those signs and symptoms can also be caused by something like hypothyroidism, right? So they want to make sure they're giving you the proper diagnosis so we can give you the proper treatment. So if you have hypothyroidism, therapy, talking to somebody, is not going to make that go away. So we need to rule out other physical causes first. Once we've officially diagnosed, what are our options? It kind of depends. It depends on the severity, right? So some people, it's mild, it's more manageable, the time doesn't last very long, whereas other people, it's very, very severe, it's crippling, and it lasts a long time. So this is very individual. The two big things that they do, therapy and antidepressants. Those are the two most common treatments for this. And one thing I do want to point out, statistically, children of moms who are depressed and do not seek treatment have a greater likelihood of having psychological and cognitive delays, so developmental delays. So it's very, very important that people who are having this, who've been diagnosed with this, get treatment. I know some people don't want to because there's like this shame or guilt or feeling like, oh, they're gonna call, Child Protective Services on me, I'm a bad mom. No, none of that is a thing, okay? It's not about that. It's about helping you and baby stay as safe as possible. So if you think you are having these issues, tell somebody, right? Tell somebody. Don't be embarrassed. Don't be afraid to tell somebody. That way we can get you the proper treatment. And it's going to be best for you and best for your kid. So the last thing I wanted to talk about is signs and symptoms of the partner of the person who just given birth. What is the nurse's role in all of this? Well, first of all, we want to assess them, right? Checking for those signs and symptoms we talked about, because sometimes it's obvious and sometimes it's not, right? So we want to assess all our patients. Administer that screening tool we talked about, or if the place you work uses a different tool, that's fine. Whatever the tool is that they use, most of it is like a little survey. So administer that. And when you do it, kind of explain what it's about and try not to put any pressure on your patient to answer a certain way. Even if you're not doing it on purpose, sometimes that happens. Sometimes the nurse will say, hey, fill this out, and you'll stand there, and just you physically being there like makes them feel like nervous, like, oh, okay, and they might not answer it honestly. So what I usually do is I give it to them, I explain what it's for, and I always say something like, this is just to tell us, how you've been feeling. Answer it honestly, and if you need some help, we're here. We'll give you some help. And then I give it to them, and then I leave. And then I'll come back later and collect it, so they can fill it out privately. That's the best way to do it because it takes pressure off the patient, and they're more likely to give you an honest answer. Make referrals if needed. So you've assessed them, you've done the screening tool, you think there might be an issue, that they need some help, get them some help. So you're going to call the doctor, right, because their doctor needs to know, or the midwife, or whoever taking care of them, they need to know. You're also going to contact a social worker, right, because they're going to help. They're going to have resources outside the hospital. And this might include things like clergy, a pastor or a priest or whatever they want, and a home health nurse, things like that. Or if this is brought on by stress because of like breastfeeding, a lactation consultant. So there's lots of support, lots of helpers that we can get to them. And then also make sure to ask them about their feelings and their support system. So very important, people don't normally freely give this information because they feel guilty or embarrassed about it. So you want to ask, so how have you been feeling? And seeing if they can say, I'm feeling good, I understand everything that's happening to me, I'm doing a great job. Are they confident? Or is it a little bit more like, I have no idea what I'm doing, I'm tired all the time, I'm anxious, I'm a total failure, right? So asking them about how they're feeling, right, that's going to kind of lead you down to a path, do they need help, do they not need help? And about their support system, do they have support at home? Who is their support? Do they need help? Things like that. So that's kind of your job as the nurse, especially as the OB nurse in the hospital. Then later on, if they go to the clinic, stuff like that, the clinic nurses are going to do similar things. The last thing I wanted to talk about in this video is postpartum depression in the partner. So you're not the person that gave birth. You're the other parent, okay? Maybe the spouse, the significant other, whatever, okay? You're the partner of the person who gave birth. You could also get postpartum depression. So what does that look like? It looks very similar to what we've already talked about, right? Feeling sad, overwhelmed, anxious, appetite changes, so not eating at all or eating too much, and that overwhelming fatigue we talked about. And some big risk factors with this, kind of similar again to the mom. If you already have depression, if you've already been diagnosed with depression, you are at higher risk for having postpartum depression. And then the other risk factor, another one we talked about, financial problems or other health problems, things like that can make you feel more anxious, can make you feel overwhelmed, stuff like that. So that was my video on postpartum depression. I hope you found this helpful. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know. And if not, I'll see you on the next one.